I hope this is quite helpful for you. We're allowed to ask certain question, any question really in the medical field, and she really went on and explained in details. Yes, so hope you find this useful. And they also spoke about menopause.
While we're doing lifestyle things, so sometimes people will come to me and they'll talk about their blood pressure, and I'll be saying to them, blood pressure's too high, you're at risk of heart attack or stroke, and they'll go, but doctor, I don't want to take any medicine. Can I not take medicine? Can I come back in 6 months' time and have my blood pressure checked again? I said, well, you can do that, but if you do that, the blood pressure's going to be high during that time. Because say you're going off to make diet changes or exercise changes, it takes a bit of time for those things to kick in, for your body to bear the benefits of those. So actually, sometimes it's worth having the medication shorter and then considering whether it can be reduced once you've done the sort of exercise and diet interventions that might be needed. So it's always worth thinking about how those different elements that we've got available to help us get well and stay well can all fit together. The things we can do to help ourselves and the resources available to support that, and the things that we might be able to do to help each other, because sometimes you need someone else. So especially with menopause is a good example of something where actually sometimes having a group of people who might be experiencing similar symptoms, it can be quite reassuring to talk to other people and know that actually they've had the same thing. So because it can be a bit frightening with any health condition, if you think that it's something that nobody else has had happen to them, that makes it extra scary in a way. And being able to talk to someone who's had a similar experience and learn what they did and how that helped, that can be really useful. I don't know, does that answer any questions about
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
There are herbal supplements and things that can be tried and recommended, and for anyone who's interested in sort of, it sits in the space of complementary medicine really, but I tend not to recommend sort of herbs and things to people, because for the most part, unless you've got a medicine garden available to you, you have to go and buy those from a herbalist, and that costs money. So anything that I would tend to recommend to someone is something that you can do with your own body and running water from Thames Water and a market to get fruit and vegetables from, because otherwise it ramps up the cost of it. But for anyone who wants to spend money on things like supplements, thinking particularly about special vitamin supplements, and there's all sorts of food supplements that people can burn money on. But there is some information about things that are more helpful and less helpful, and again we can signpost you to the reading about that, because there's a lot of information and it's worth having a read before. I would always say to anyone, if you're being asked to pay more than £5 for something, read a lot about it first to make sure that it's a good spend, because it might not be worth it. It might be something else you can do that didn't need you to spend that money on it, particularly in the health and wellbeing space.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was quite a lot.
What is it if someone is having omega-3, zinc, and
Vitamins to people, I'm keen to point out that really the best vitamins are in food, except for vitamin D. Vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin, we're lucky if we get a lot of that in this part of the globe. So, and particularly in the cold winter seasons, vitamin D is a really important vitamin for everyone, including in menopause. So I would encourage, unless someone is living with really impaired kidney function, I would encourage everyone to eat 1,000 units of vitamin D a day, and that's available in an inexpensive tablet that you can get from the pharmacy. It's about £1 a month. So it's worth doing. And then for all other vitamins, usually unless one is on a restricted diet for other health reasons, the vitamins we need can be got through a balanced diet. And where it might be difficult to shop and cook for ourselves, it's worth us thinking about, can we cook for each other, have like a little casserole club where we get together with a group of friends and take it in turns to do the cooking, so that we only have to prepare one healthy meal for 5 people once a week instead of 5 times a week. You can save on your energy bills that way as well, because if you're going to cook for one person, you're having the oven on, you can cook for 5 people in the same oven. So you're going to save that money if you're cooking for your 5 friends and you, and then take it in turns to do it like that. Also, we've got quite a lot of resources in our community space places where hot meals are available for a small amount or no amount of money, and if anyone needs to get more information about that, I know that colleagues here today have got that information, so I think it's really worth us sort of thinking about the options that we've got for feeding ourselves well, because it can sometimes feel a bit overwhelming if we're not quite sure what to do or how to do it, or we've become unused to doing it because we've just been in a routine where it's not been our top priority until now. So there's nutrition, and keeping physically active is really important in the menopause as well. So we know from the research and from talking to women who report back on their menopause experience that reducing the amount of refined sugar foods that we eat is really important, and doing physical activity, so walking exercise or equivalent, so 20 minutes a day of brisk walking or equivalent exercise can be really beneficial, and we know that in groups of women who've been studied, it reduces the prevalence of menopause symptoms and it improves mental well-being. There was a research article published recently that said that 30 minutes of walking a day is as good a prescription as an antidepressant medication for a lot of people. So seriously looking at whether or not we need to use Grange Wood, for example, use that beautiful old woodlands nearby, and start doing some walks and actually do prescription walking instead of prescription SSRI medications. I think it's really important when we're talking about doing things naturally that we recognise the value and the importance of medication where it's appropriately prescribed, because sometimes we do need to take our medication. It's very useful, particularly for lowering our cholesterol, or for keeping our blood pressure controlled, or for helping our kidney function, or if we've had heart problems, or we've had surgery, or we need thyroxine. But I think some of the time people are keen to be taking fewer pills, and there are a lot of things that we can think about doing before we need to turn to prescription pharmacology to keep us well. So the sleeplessness associated with estrogen deficiency is one of the things. So it's not just the direct mood effect of the lack of estrogen, it's the fact that lack of estrogen makes you sleepless. So actually one of the other things that HRT can improve is sleep. Not always. So I'm not parking, because you said what can you do without HRT, so I'm certainly not parking HRT there as being the magical solution for menopause symptoms. It's certainly not, and some people don't get on with it at all, and some people just don't want to try it, and because they'd rather do things very naturally, and for them that means without adding in anything that's been prepared in a pharmaceuticals factory. So I think looking at the things that we can do to optimise our sleep, so there's a lot of information actually on the NHS online information. I think it's called Every Mind Matters. It's a section of the NHS online, and within that there's a bit about sleep. And so there's quite a lot of information in there about things we can do to improve our sleep quality. And for people who are not able to access information online, we could pull some of that resource off and make it available through community spaces so that people have got that to look at. So I think that's one thing. We also know that the nutritional requirements of the body at different life ages and stages vary. So one of the really important things for staying as well as possible during any life change, but including during the menopause, is to focus on vitamin-rich foods. So really concentrating on greens and beans in our diet. So I have a colleague who, one of his favourite questions to every patient that comes through his door is, do you eat vegetables every day? And do you know how many people say yes? Not really. Not very many say yes in answer to that question about eating vegetables every day. And we come up with all sorts of reasons why we don't. And cost is often one of the reasons. But actually when we drill down to that, it's not the cost per se of vegetables, it's the associated practicalities of getting them from the market and preparing them and storing them and all the rest of it. So it's not just about the cost of buying things, because we don't have to go to Waitrose and buy plastic packed £10 asparagus for it to be vegetables. We can go to the market and pick up curly kale, and it's less money, but then we've got to do something with it. So looking at the vitamin foods, particularly vegetables and particularly protein, because also as we're going through physiological health, protein is an important nutrient for us, and it's important that we give ourselves enough protein to be able to do the repair functions that our body needs. So as well as needing some sleep, because that's the time at which our body is able to relax and restore itself, physically and emotionally, we also need to be fueling our bodies with the stuff that we need to be able to repair and restore ourselves ready for the next day. So mood, and sometimes we might have regarded ourselves as being emotionally very well up until that point. So that can be quite unsettling, because this thing comes from nowhere almost, and suddenly we're feeling very anxious about everything and we don't really understand why, because we've lived with life things all the time and they've not really made us very anxious till now. Or it might be that we are starting to worry about things because it's change and it makes us aware of the fact that we're getting a bit older, and that brings to the front of our minds the uncertainties associated with getting older, and also those changes in our family unit that might sort of be causing some stress and distress, and sort of trying to work out how to manage all those things. So we know that some of the emotional well-being symptoms of menopause do relate directly to insufficiency of female hormone estrogen. And we know that if we can add back that estrogen, then some people will feel better. So that's the HRT that people talk about. And there are various ways of taking HRT, but the two commonest forms are by eating it, which is less popular, or by applying the estrogen through the skin, either as a gel or in patch form. And that actually can be a safer and more effective way of taking the HRT. So we know that HRT is a solution for some people, part of the solution for some people who are experiencing symptoms that they might correlate with the time where their change has occurred. And for some people, they experience those symptoms quite a way before their periods have stopped, for example. So they're not really connecting at the time with the fact that they're due to menopause or perimenopause. But there's something going on, and so if someone's not sure, actually a conversation with a healthcare professional to just sort of talk through, could this realistically be because I'm experiencing these hormone changes, or might there be other things that are going on that are contributing to this? So when we're trying to feel well and stay well, it's really important that we acknowledge the possibility of contributing factors like menopause in the female body, but also we think about the other aspects of life that might be destabilising those pillars of well-being. So if we just sort of call to mind what those are, so the pillars of well-being, or sometimes people refer to them as the 5 stars of 5-star well-being. So you've got nutrition and keeping physically active, mobility, and connectedness, so that's doing things that give you a positive energy with people who make you feel good, and avoiding harmful substances, which include unprescribed drugs, alcohol, social media, and also sleep. And sleep is something that we're not always very good at delivering to ourselves in our routines. We might be very busy, we might have more than one paid employment job, we might be doing caring roles as well, we might have children who we've got to ferry around or cook for. And there's so many different things that people are juggling, and before you know it, you might not be giving yourself very much sleep. So your body might not be very good at doing sleep, because your body's habit might be one of not sleeping very well, because you might be used to having to put yourself to bed quite late, you've got jobs to do, and then you might have to get up quite early, or there might be other people in the house who are waking you up early. And so if you're not getting, really at least 6 hours of sleep a night, then arguably the scientists would say that you might not quite be getting enough sleep. Everyone is different. Some people say that they have to have 9 or even 12. That sounds really luxurious, but that's sleep. Who gets that? So there's a lot of information in the sleep space, and things that we can do to improve the quality of our sleep, And if we really can't realistically get sleep for more than 5 or 6 hours a night because of our timetable, because we've got to go to bed late for work, go early for work, then just trying to make sure we maximise the quality of that sleep for that period of time. But in menopause, also,